Hi there, it's Beauty Junkie. Welcome to my channel. Today we're getting into the Pat McGrath Mothership 9 palette, the Huetopian Dream. Look at this packaging. It's very space-like. Purple and pink are the main colors. This palette is dusty, but this is the palette we're talking about today. I'm going to be going over the details, doing swatches in daylight, doing comparison swatches to the other Mothership palettes, and I'm going to be doing 3 looks with you. Very excited to finally get this video out there. I know I'm a little bit late. This is the last look that I put together that you'll see later in this video, and this is one of my favorites. I know I say that a lot, but I just love the combination of pink and purple. Purple is one of my favorite colors, so you can see why I would be excited about this launch. And the palette's still in stock, so you guys can pick it up still. Let's go over the details. So the Mothership 9 palette, just like the other previous Mothership palettes, is $125. When it first launched, you can get 10% off if you sign up through email on Pat McGrath's website. There's also bundles. The other new launch that came out with this palette is the new IntesifEyes Artistry wand, which I also picked up. Comes in this type of packaging. Love this color, this holographic purple. This is a primer, but not. It's actually just a eyeshadow intensifier. It makes certain shadows very much more bold and more concentrated. I would use these for the special glittery shades, metallic, matte shades, shimmer shades. This doesn't really make too much of a difference. It actually might mess up your matte shades a little bit. But for the special shades that don't have a lot of base color behind them, these 3 right here, this is going to make them stick better and just work, I think, how they were intended to. This isn't a totally necessary product. You might have an eye primer or glitter glue in your collection, but I like the convenience of this click pen, and it's shaped so you can get in tight areas, and it's pretty cooling. It's invisible, so I think this is pretty handy. The downside is the cost. This is $32 by itself, and there is 2 grams of product, 0.07 ounces. A lot of money for what it is. There is a bundle. I believe it's sold out. I actually didn't get the bundle because when there's a new launch, I just add things to cart, and I don't always check out the bundles that you can't see ahead of time. There is a bundle. You get the Huetopian palette and the IntesifEyes one for $132. It saves you quite a bit of money if you buy these together, so definitely do that if you're interested in both. And then I also picked up a new blush. This is not new to Pat, but she did come out with blushes this year, and I picked up another shade. So this is my 4th Pat McGrath blush. This is Desert Orchid. It's what I have on my cheeks right now, and it is a beautiful golden tan slash kind of orange bronze, and I really like it. I think it's really flattering. It's not a shade I would normally pick, but I really like it so far. So that's what I picked up in my latest order, and it takes about a week to get new launches, and I went on vacation, so that's why this video is up late, but I'm glad to finally show you this palette on myself. And I think a lot of you find my swatches to be helpful because I have a cool light skin tone, and a lot of Pat's palettes I think are really intense and pigmented, and I think mostly catered towards medium and deeper skin tones, but I find that her palettes really work with all skin types, including mine, and I like you guys to see what these shades look like. So let's get into swatches. So I did some swatches in daylight, in the sunlight, but I will go ahead and do live swatches with you right now, and then I'll show you those photos. In the photos you'll see each swatch by itself, and then next to it I use the IntesifEyes pen, so you can see what these look like when I use the pen on my arm. So I will show that after I do these live swatches. I also pulled out all of my pat palettes to see, okay, which ones might be close. So I'll show those on the screen as well after we're done. So let's get into the live swatches here. Skinshow Nude Xtasy. Secret Eden. Bronze Desire. Bronze Solaris 005. Astral Venusian Orchid. There is the top row in the Huetopian Dream palette. I think of this top row as like the lighter daytime friendly version. Besides this shade, most of these shades are not super intense or deep. This is very shiny and very glittery. Don't want to downplay this one. This gold also has a lot of shine to it, but the rest of these are very daytime friendly. Let's get into the bottom row here. I have Xtreme Plum Noir, Cosmic Bloom, Shockwave, Blitz Sextreme, and finally Astral Amethyst Moon. And that is the bottom row from here on. This is definitely more of a deeper toned row and a lot punchier, a lot more nighttime, but these all combine very beautifully together in different ways. And I will be using every shade in my demonstration of the 3 looks so you guys can see everything in action. This is a shimmery shade. This is a matte. This I would consider a metallic. This is a glitter. This is a glitter topper special shade. This is a matte. This is a metallic. This is a matte. This is a multi-chrome, and this is a special glitter shade. This does not have a base. This does not have much of a base, and so does this one. These 3 shades, I would find that the IntesifEyes wand works well with these 3 shades. The other shades, you don't really need the wand, but if you have any other pat palettes or quads with those special shades, that wand is going to be helpful. So those are the live swatches of the Huetopian Dream Mothership 9 palette. Quickly, I'll do a Desert Orchid swatch live for you right here. See how pretty that is. Of course, this is going to be blended out on your cheeks, but that is the swatch. Alright, so here I'm about to show you some comparison swatches. So I'll be showing the Huetopian palette on top and then the comparison shade to the other palette below it, and then repeating Huetopian shade, other shade, and I'll go ahead and show you like the names of the shades, what palette they came from, so you guys can quickly be able to tell, okay, which ones are close, which ones are not. I would say overall, of course, you guys already noticed there are similar shades in other palettes. I would say Divine Rose 2 is a close one. So Divine Rose 1 and 2. 2 has more closer shades. I think kind of, I don't know. I'm not really disappointed, but the multi-chrome shade in Divine Rose 2 and this Mothership 9 palette, there's more of a noticeable shift in the multi-chrome in Divine Rose 2. The shift in the one in this one is just not as dramatic, and the shades are different, but they're not that different. So I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more from the multi-chrome in this palette, just because we've already seen the multi-chrome from Pat, and it's not a huge change. Divine Rose 1 has probably 1 or 2 similar shades, but not a whole lot. I think, like most people have noticed, like we're getting a lot of pinks, and we're kind of tired of that. But I think what's new about this palette is that it's paired with purple. So I like that about it. It's a party palette again. I think Divine Rose 2 is really punchy, powerful, dramatic. So is this one. So I like to see these changes in Pat's palettes. To me, they're different than the previous ones because they are a little bit more wild. And I like that. It's a little bit more artistic. It's not for everyone. It's not for the everyday. Alright, so you might think that like purple and pink, while it's pretty, it's not new. You want something totally different. I personally would like to see another cool toned majority palette from Pat. I think we'd probably want to see something in a different direction besides, you know, rose and pink. Totally get that, but I think, you know, Pat's been doing well with these colors, and you know, doing a similar color story again probably makes sense. But I think we all agree, like, we want something different for sure. And, you know, you don't have to get Divine Rose 1, 2, and Utopia. It's not necessary, but if the colors appeal to you more in one palette over the other, then get that one. I mean, it's all makeup, it's all fun. Like, it's not like you have to have any of these palettes, but I think the formulations are always consistently really good. And you know, I will say, like, some of these shades you need a little bit of practice to get them to work for you in the best way possible. So, you know, if you're going to go out on a special occasion and you're using this palette for the first time ever, you've never used Pat McGrath shadows before, I would, you know, practice a little bit before just going cold and trying this palette out. It does take a little bit of practice getting used to these pigmented shades and these textures. I will note that when this palette arrived, this shade here, Bronze Desire, was falling apart. There was like pieces of it all over the palette when it arrived. I did have to hold it for a week because I was on vacation when I ordered it, and it was going to come when I wasn't home. Maybe it just got jiggled a lot, being moved around quite a bit. So I've never really had that happen. I've had shades fall out before, but this is the first time I've had like just kind of a palette in eyeshadow dusted all over and in chunks, but I pressed most of it back in, so it should be good to go. I just have to be a little bit careful with this palette and just chucking it into my drawer. But I'm sure you guys experienced this with many different eyeshadows. It's always disappointing when you open something up for the first time and there's eyeshadow everywhere. Not a huge fan of that, especially when you pay this much money for a palette. It, you know, it can be disappointing. But it was bubble wrapped. I do think there could have been even more padding, to be honest. I think the reason for, you know, shades falling out is because this palette's really heavy. It bounces around the box. That's eyeshadows falling out. It's just more likely to happen, and like crumbling more likely to happen when you have a heavy palette like this. Alright, so I have my full complexion on, including foundation, bronzer. I'm using the Victoria Beckham Matte Bronzing Brick in shade 01. So I just combine both shades, and that is pretty much all that's on my face besides foundation and concealer little bit of setting powder. I picked up an additional blush. So I have 4 Pat McGrath Divine blushes now. I picked up the shade Desert Orchid, which is definitely a very different shade for me. A lot of people really love this shade, so I had to pick it up. It's just got a golden sheen in there, so it's definitely not a matte. And I just am really excited to try it out on my cheeks for the first time with you. So I'm going to be tapping in using my Wayne Goss number 10 up in here. It's just a perfect kind of a tan, gold, bronze, delightful shade. Not something I normally wear. I'm definitely in more of a pink, mauve-y category with my blush. You know, sometimes peachy, but this is definitely going in another direction. I think I over-applied on this side. I always forget how pigmented these blushes are, so I'm going to go ahead and buff this out with my Sonia G Face one just a little bit. It's so smooth. Like, even though there's quite a bit of golden shimmer in here, it's so flattering. Alright. Love that look. Very deserty. I think it's got a good name for the shade, actually. Desert Orchid. Although when I think of orchids, I think of white orchids or purple orchids, but I really like the shade quite a bit. And then I'll go ahead and finish up my face with highlighter. This is the Divine Glow Highlighter Golden Nectar. This is the latest highlighter. It is not new for this launch. It's very gold, light gold. Most people with my skin tone probably would want a lighter highlighter shade, but I think it works. Would I prefer to something a little bit lighter? Yeah, but I still think it's very pretty and goes with this blush fairly well. Now we're going to get into 3 eye looks, starting with the first one. I think I'm going to go very more in the romantic, sort of the safer look first. And romantic because I'm using this sort of quad here, this very dusty pink and brown shade. So I'm using Skinshow, Nude Xtasy, Secret Eden, Extreme Plum, Noir, and Cosmic Bloom. So the first look will be these shades right here. So I'm going to start out with Secret Eden, which is the light matte shade in the palette. And I am not going to use the eye primer. I'm going to reserve those for the special shades that really make it stand out. So just going straight in on my eye. Didn't put an eye primer, but I did use some setting powder on my eyelids. So this is Secret Eden. Just a wash all over the lid, and this is a neutral shade. It does look warm on camera and in the sun, but when I'm looking in the mirror, it's kind of rusty, a little bit more cool, not super warm, but this is a nice matte color. It's a neutral alternative. If you have my skin tone, you may not like these kinds of shades, but they are really flattering. You just have to try them out. All right, let's go into Extreme Plum Noir, and I'm gonna use this to create some shape in my crease. As with many matte eyeshadows from Pat that are on the deeper side, a little goes a long way. For newbies, when something's this pigmented and this dark against your skin, it can be harder to use. I'm just gonna say that. Especially if you go in real hard with a lot of product and you really don't need a lot to kind of deepen your crease. I probably put way too much, but That happens to me a lot when I use pat shadows. I just put too much, and then some of these shadows I have to take them up too high. And then I ended up just kind of washing out the color because I had to spread it around too much. So if you just really want like a concentrated crease shade, you're just going to do just the smallest amount of product. But I took this up a little bit higher than my crease, a lot higher. So now it just kind of looks like a wash of many tones of a rose shade. So onto the lightest shade into my inner corner. That is Skinshow Nude Xtasy. I'm going in again with Extreme Plum Noir mixed in with a little Secret Eden with this very small brush. Kind of like an eyeliner. So you can see why this is a very rosy, romantic look. You could certainly stop here, but I'm going to use the pink leaning metallic shade. This is Cosmic Bloom. I'm going to try it with a brush first. This is just what I normally do with pat shadows, and then sometimes I go in with my finger. So Cosmic Bloom is going to go in the center lid. Now I am loving this with a brush. It's a lot more subtle, but I want to go in with my finger. Just a little bit more, and not a lot of fallout with that one, which I love. So that took this look up a notch. This is a really pretty color. I don't think though it's a color I haven't seen before from Pat. As you might have saw in my comparisons, there are a couple shades that Pat has already come out with within the Mothership collection that look very close to this, but I think this shade is a nice addition, a little pop of color to this quad this 4 shades that I'm working with here. I think it's just kind of ties everything together. And the whole purple and pink pops of color in this palette, the overall theme, the shade makes sense with these 3 other shades. Extreme Plum Noir just as an eyeliner with that small little brush. Now I'm going to put on some mascara, do my lips, and I will be back to show you the final first look. Alright, this is the final first look. Very romantic, as I said, that's what I was going for. These first 4 shades in the palette are really classic Pat McGrath, and it's just like easy, pretty, wearable. You can certainly just use the mattes and maybe like the Skinshow Nude Xtasy in the inner corner, and that could be a perfect daytime look. If you like using glitter every day, I think this metallic is just the right amount of glitter and sheen and shine. It's not over the top. It doesn't have a lot of fallout. I think it's definitely a beautiful day to night look. If you wanted to take this palette with you, wear the matte shades mostly in the day, and then just pop on Cosmic Bloom with your finger for a nighttime look. Beautiful addition. The lipstick I am using is from Pat McGrath, the Matte Trance Soft Core, and I just think this really goes well with this palette. And the lip liner I'm using is the Permagel Ultra Lip Pencil in Suburbia, also from Pat. Really pretty combination. If you wanted to take it up a notch and you like using a little gloss on your lip, I would probably go with the Less Gloss in Bronze Venus. Really pretty shade, and I think the glitter matches the metallic eyeshadow. You could pop this on as well. So those are the details of the first look. Let me know what you think about this look. Is this something you guys could wear. Does this remind you of Divine Rose 1 or 2 at all? I think it kind of reminds me of Divine Rose 2 for sure. Alright, on to the second look. I trying to keep my mascara on and I left my lipstick on. There might be a little bit of residue because I'm using makeup wipes just to remove my eye makeup. So apologies if it doesn't look perfectly clean, but we're going to go into more of the middle shades in this palette. These babies right here, and these are a little bit more fun. And we have a multi-chrome shade here that I'm really excited to get into. This combination of shades is going to be a little bit tricky to use all of them. So I may not get to every one, especially this gold. I might use it in the little corner, my inner corner, but I'll try my best to use all of them. But this is going to be a little bit more experimental for me than the first look, but bear with me. I do want to lay down this matte orangey peachy shade, Shockwave, definitely a shocking shade. I think a lot of people, I would assume, are excited about this one because it is so different, and I haven't seen this color from Pat before. At least looking at all my Motherships, I haven't seen one like this, but I don't have every single 6-pan or quad palette. But Shockwave does look pretty exciting. It's not a shade I normally gravitate towards, but I'm glad to see something different in Pat's palettes. So I'm just gonna put this on a bare lid, no primer. See what we come up with. You can see how pigmented and bright it is already. This reminds me of like a juicy strawberry peach shade. Like, look at that. I love it already. It's very pink orange, almost neon looking in the camera. Now again, if you have a light skin tone, the shade probably looks intimidating to you if you're not used to color. I totally get that, but this kind of color I wouldn't wear just on its own. You totally can, but I think it looks better when something's kind of offsetting it. So not a shade I would be like a one and done for me, but it is very impactful and I'm kind of loving it. Let's do Bronze Desire in our crease, maybe outer part, and then I'll probably use Blitz Sextreme in the middle. Bronze Desire, this is the one that crumbled on pawn arrival. I know some people don't like metallics or shimmers in their crease, but this is going on real easy. This is a combination I generally wouldn't do, but I kind of like it because it's different. I hope you guys just see like these combinations you guys can do on a light skin tone. I'm not one for like having really nice shapes. I'm pretty easy. So it's not like a complicated eye look, but just kind of looking at combos in different ways is what I hope you get out of this video. What do I want to do? I think I'm going to use this on the under eye as well. I think a shimmery bronze as like a liner is always really pretty. Before I get into that multi-chrome shade, I'm going to go in the inner corner with Bronze Solaris 05. This is one of those little flaky gold ones. So I'm actually going to use the primer. It's the first time we get to see it in action. I wish this was a twist up. It's a clicky. And I'm just going to go, I like the shape of it. Ooh, it is really cooling. I'm going to go in here. And put that gold in on top of it. What this looks like. The primer, ooh. Yeah, I think that primer really helps these kind of dusty gold glitter shades a lot because they have the most fallout. and you end up having to put on a lot because they don't have a base. So I'm glad she came out with a primer. I think that makes sense because there's literally no color behind the glitter like this. Alright, so now we have that. Again, you could stop here, but I want to use as many shadows as possible in these looks. So we're going to use Blitz Sextreme on the middle portion, and I'm going to try to use my finger. These go on so easy for multi-chrome. Some formulas are a little bit tricky, but I don't really think you need the primer at all with the shade. Because, I mean, look at that. So I will say, I like this color. It's a little bit deeper than the previous multi-chrome in Designers 2. But I don't notice like a huge dramatic shift color change. It has some gold in it, but the other one had like green to this like fuchsia-y color. But I do like the tone of it. And it has a nice amount of shine without being like super glittery. And it's like a souped up metallic. Now, are there more dramatic multi-chrome shades out there in the universe? For sure. But this one is really easy to apply and I like that. I'm loving this. This is a bit more dramatic. Definitely a different direction than the first look, but still like just beautiful tones that just work wonderfully together. I'm going to be a little bit extra and go into Shockwave just a little bit more so you can see it a little bit more. So we're taking this pretty high. So I want to do a little bit of glitter on the lip. So again, the Matte Trance Soft Core shade Suburbia lip pencil, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the Bronze Venus Less Gloss with this look. Now we just have a little extra shine. For me, this would be a more special occasion / nighttime look, but if you just use less shadows, you could definitely do this anytime, day or night, like whatever you want to do. That is it for look number 2. Let me know what you guys think. Do you prefer this over look 1, look 3? Let me know. Alright, on to the third and final look. My eyes are getting a little irritated, but we're gonna power through. I'm actually most excited to use these last 2 shades, Astral, Venusian, Orchid, Astral, Amethyst, Moon. These are the purple, most exciting shades. I've seen a lot of people use these shades in their looks just because they're so gorgeous. I personally love purples, and I like that they did like a mixture of like rosy warm pinks with these purples. It's a different combination than Pat's done before, in my opinion, at least in the Mothership series. I know she has used some really bright pinks and purples before in her collection overall, but in this palette together I think it looks really powerful and really exciting. And I'm going to be using this artistry pen for sure with these special glittery topper shades. I think, as you saw in the swatches, it does make the most difference in these types of formulas. So let's get right into it. I'm not going to do too much with the mattes. It's going to be all about the glitters in this look. So I'm going to start out with Secret Eden, which is the lightest matte and more on the rosy side, but still pretty warm. My eyes are really red right now, so you probably won't be able to see this shade too well, but we're just going to do a wash of color. So I kind of want to use Shockwave again, just to have something exciting behind these purples and a little bit more of a pop contrast. I think what makes these purples sort of fall into the theme of Huetopia and this like spaceship alien thing going on with this palette is that the purple really stands out against these other shades. Like it looks sort of extraterrestrial against these warm tones. At least that's how I interpret this palette. Let's get into these really fun shades. So I'm going to go in over these powders with the wand again. And I'm not sure how this is going to work over eyeshadow, but that's kind of just how I do my makeup. I think it'll be okay. So you can see what happened there. A little bit came off, but not completely. It just feels a little bit wet, but not goopy. It's not like, it kind of feels like wet, like Vaseline or something, but it's not sticky, just kind of wet. I'm going to take my finger into Astral Amethyst Moon. Look how pretty that is, and just tap it on. Oh my gosh. Getting a little bit of fallout. So I wasn't super precise, and I took it a little bit high where I didn't have primer. I wouldn't say, so this isn't technically a primer, I keep saying it is. It's more of an intensifier. So I'm not sure that it's really going to make things stick necessarily, but it seemed to make the gold stick. I think it helps with that a little bit. But I do love this like melon purple contrast quite a bit. Alright, so let's go on to the other eye before it dries. This reminds me of a MAC Fuchsia loose powder eyeshadow that I used to absolutely love. I don't think they make it anymore. It wasn't glittery, it was just kind of shimmery slightly, but it was so pretty. Now let's do the wand again, and I'm going to use the Venusian Orchid on the inner corner now. This is that light, really blinding glitter. It's more pink and has a lot of shift. There's some green in it. And I'm going to use a pen brush because we're working a smaller area. Alright, that's kind of a lot. A lot of glitter happening here. So much fun though. Like, I feel like this is just like a dream play kit. I kind of want to use Bronze Desire. Just that chocolate shimmer. Just a little bit of chocolate up in there. This is very watercolor. A lot of things going on. Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup of the fallout. I'm going to do some eyeliner, and I'll show you the final third look. Alright, this is the final third look. I kind of love this. So I added a little extra things. So I did Skinshow Nude Xtasy on the brow bone. And then I touched up my mascara, but I also used a black liquid liner, totally extra, but I just felt like we have a lot of colors going on, so I just wanted to kind of like complete the look, and sometimes I just want to define my eyes a little bit more because I don't have a lot of definition in my eyeshadow application technique that much, and I'm kind of loving it. For the lips, if you like this purple look, the Amethyst Moon, and you also like Astral, Venusian, Orchid, I really recommend checking out the Astral Flash Dance Lust Gloss. This is like very purple and blue. You can see the blue in there. Works perfectly with these eyeshadows, like the purple, these two special shades, like, and this lip gloss. Stunning. So I kind of had like leftover lipstick and lip liner, and I just used the gloss on top, and that's it. I didn't add any other colors, and the reflect is very similar, so love that kind of monochromatic. I mean, the lips and eyes are a lot. This is a look. This is like going out, special occasion. This is a moment, but they work together. I really like Desert Orchid, the blush, with this look. I could have totally gone peach or pink, but I like the kind of nudie, bronze, orangey contrast because, you know, the pink lips, pink eyes is just a nice combination. And then the gold highlighter, it's a balance. It's not all like, oh, you're really pink today, you know? So I like this blush with this look as well. This might be the most dramatic look, but it is the most dramatic look out of the three, but I think it's my favorite just because I normally wouldn't pair pink and purple in one look together, not usually. And then this kind of pinky shifty gold is a nice contrast with the other shades. I mean, just stunning combination of colors, and even though I'm on the pale side, I think you can make them work. This is a lot, but you don't have to do all of this at once, but I just want you to see I used every shade in the palette with these three looks, and you can pair them however you want. If you like something, you like glitter, you can always use it as a subtle thin eyeliner, you know, especially next to black or on top of black is always really pretty. Or you can, you know, go all over the lid like I do. I will say the wands seem to help. If you have another way of like priming your eyes or you use a glitter primer, that works just as well. You don't need this, but I like the convenient stick rather than having to stick your finger or a brush into like a liquidy cream product. This is pretty convenient. You can apply it directly to the eye and you don't have to use a brush because the shape is small enough and, you know, it kind of fits in these tight places. So I really like the convenience aspect of it. I hope it doesn't dry out, and there's 2 grams of product in here, so I hope that it lasts. I think I kind of used quite a bit of it today with the swatches and the eye looks, but I think it does seem to work. That's the third look. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your favorite look below. Yeah, I really enjoy this palette. I think you guys can tell. If you can't, I really love this palette. And I think, I mean, you really have to evaluate what's already in your collection, what colors you really like already, what do you need, what are you looking for. I mean, past palettes have really great quality, but she's coming out with a lot of same stuff. I totally get it. My final thoughts on the palette, you know, I've worked with it a little bit now. I did 3 looks, but, you know, I haven't done any other looks besides these just because this is my first day with the palette and I love it so far. I love the combination of shades that you can get from this palette on its own. It might not be something you're going to use every day, especially if you're not into warmer shades, but there is some really beautiful purple special shades. I had a lot of fun putting these looks together, so I can't say that about every palette I've used, and you know, when something is fun to create, I think that's a positive, and it's a positive experience. I'm all about that, so I have to recommend this palette because it was so fun to do these looks. But you know, if these shades aren't for you, they aren't for you. I wouldn't say that pat is getting boring, but I like the vibe of this palette a lot. I think it's, you know, pretty unique in the shade combinations. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this palette. Have you already picked it up? Do you plan on picking up later when there's a sale? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of these looks? Which one's your favorite? Comment below as well. If you like this video, click the thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye, guys.